all of these things that I do, right? From speaking engagements, I host my own master classes a few times a year that I promote to my email list. All of these things lead to what we call a meaningful conversation. What is really cool about this model is that they can feed into each other.
Right.
So I can identify people who would be great as individuals to take my course.
Let's talk, Maryanne, you've built a business, you've simplified it over the years. Like, I've seen the business evolve. And one thing I saw you do was really simplify your model.
Okay, so yes, so I like writing the email. And then I have the VA then turn that into a blog post on my website and a LinkedIn newsletter. And then she takes snippets of those from the show notes and from my email, and we create 4 or 5 social media posts, like one audio, one video, like a couple of graphics that now there's just templates for it. So we kind of plug and play. But
so wait, you're taking, for example, you're taking the YouTube video and you're posting that. You're taking the podcast, you're posting that.
We'll take snippets, like a short cut of it.
Okay.
And like use that as a social media post with the link to the full thing.
And in your email, are you linking to the video and the podcast also?
I am linking to, this is new, a page on my website that has, because I was taking people to like Google and Apple. Well, now I have a page on my website where the podcast, you can listen to the podcast and watch the YouTube channel. So I'm driving people to my website, which is great. And I'm just saying, like, that's just one idea. Mm-hmm. And then once I have the system in place, all I really do is go live and talk and do about 10 minutes of writing. Mm-hmm. And then so that takes me less than, I would say 2 hours a week if I'm thinking about it, because I do book the guests, and all of that. But other than that, like I find people and I book the guests, and what I love about this is that I have other people supporting me, and then once they learn the system, now it's just coming out, every week. And sometimes my podcasts I'll go solo. Sometimes I interview people. I mix it up. And like I said, now all my creativity, all my creation is going into that, right? And I'm holding the business model steady.
Simple, steady.
Right? Simple, clean, steady. And that's what's allowed it to really grow. Because I do feel like if you've got so many things you're offering, people just don't know. First of all, it's hard to make a choice. Like, do I do this course or this course?
Right.
I don't know. And then they don't choose. And it's just so much to maintain. You know what I mean? Just like, I just felt like I was selling.
Right. Well, actually, this might be a great segue into another topic. Let's talk, Maryanne, you've built a business. You've simplified it over the years. Like, I've seen the business evolve. And one thing I saw you do was really simplify your model. And you've talked about that a few times. Why don't you share with us what your model is today, and maybe why it is what it is? Like, what is your business model right now?
Well, my business model is, and thanks to guidance from you, all of these things that I do, right? From speaking engagements, I host my own master classes a few times a year that I promote to my email list. All of these things lead to what we call a meaningful conversation, right? Well, actually, they all lead to my email list, which leads to a meaningful conversation. And from there, there's really 2 ways we can go. One is if you're an individual that wants to work with me in a course, in a cohort with other nonprofit leaders, you do my influence class. Or if you're an organization that wants to work with me to help, around leadership, communication, or marketing, then that's kind of another path we can take. And then, and what is really cool about this model is that they can feed into each other.
Right.
So I can identify people who would be great as individuals to take my course in an organizational setting, and the people who work with me through the course, they often get excited and want to bring me into either, like, I've actually brought this influence course, I've done this 4 or 5 times, into a team inside an organization.
Wow.
Like, I just did 18 people a few weeks ago in February, where I brought it inside this organization to help them as a team communicate more effectively. And so those are really the two paths, but it's really all about this influence course. And I'm focusing on that. And moving away from kind of more like, hey, will you come, speak to my board and present, like, you know what, I love that, and also maybe we could figure out a way that I could train you, and inspire you so that you can inspire them. You don't need me to pay me to do it. Like, I would rather people invest, instead of paying me to come speak at a board meeting for a few hours, to invest that money in their own development so that they can manage their board, more effectively, or their staff or donors, whoever they want. And so I really, really claimed that influence as my main offering and the foundational program.
Thank you, Maryanne. That was juicy information, very powerful. If you're curious about learning more, I highly recommend checking out Maryanne's book, Courageous Communication. It's a great book about taking a stand for what you believe in. When I started my business 15 years ago, and well into my 7th year of business, I had no back end, no big back end. When I say big back end, I mean something where you're building a community, you're building a culture, you're building a group, a tribe of people who are invested and investing over time, like monthly recurring revenues, yes, from a business perspective, and even more importantly, invested from a personal perspective. They're showing up every week, they're doing the work together, they're supporting each other. That, for me, was the biggest breakthrough in my business.